organization says they're data driven, and most of them I think are very data rich, but often insight poor. They have the data and the analysis is good, but sometimes the person presenting it billed it for accuracy when the room actually needed a reason to care. So today on ZZ Exchange, we're talking about the gap between having the answer and getting anyone to act on it. Welcome to ZZ Exchange, short-form conversations where I sit with experienced leaders and professionals and start to think out loud about how leadership and business actually works, including the parts that don't often get enough airtime. So I'm Ainsley Erickson, executive coach and founder of Zen Zero, and while most of my coaching work is with senior leaders, the other half of what I do is brand strategy and fractional marketing leadership. And that lives and dies on one question: is the story you're telling actually landing? And today I'm joined by the very awesome Ciaran Acford. Ciaran is the Senior Insights Manager at Uni, the world's biggest pizza oven brand, where he built the global insights function from scratch. Before that, he was Director of Data and Insight at Rocky Mountaineer, and that's where we worked together. But he's also worked agency side at Ipsos and brand side in luxury spirits at Erdington. And he's an Aura Storytelling Award winner, which makes him exactly the right person for this conversation, because Ciaran doesn't just believe that insights need better stories. He's actually been recognized for doing just that. So this is a conversation about the space between the insight and the action, and why that space is almost always a story problem. So Ciaran, welcome to ZZ Exchange.
Hello, thanks for having me. Very looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. So going to jump straight into some questions. Ciaran, most insight teams, like I said, are producing good work. You know, the analysis is really sound. I think the dashboards are built and the reports go out on schedule. And most of it lands with a genuine kind of nod, but very little follow through from what I've kind of witnessed. And I don't think it's because people don't see the value in the work. I think they do. They're just in the middle of their day, they're walking back to something that was already full before like the presentation kind of started. And while the insights are true and accurate and maybe even really super important, oftentimes I think it doesn't always come with a clear way in, like how can they actually apply it to the decision that they're trying to make. So it kind of just stays in the room or on the slide where they saw it. And with your background, like you've worked across so many varying kind of businesses. And when you think about like a specific moment where good work just kind of fell flat, like what was actually going on in the room? Like, and knowing what you know now, what would have needed to change for that to go kind of differently?
Yes, lots of examples come to mind, and I would say, fortunately, fewer and fewer as I've kind of got more experience within my career. I think what those situations look like from my point of view is maybe the person that you're working with is coming into that meeting off the back of another one, has got half an hour or an hour for you, might be slightly frazzled, might have a
Yeah.
bunch of other stuff on their brain, right? And that might be the most important meeting for you that day, right? And you've prepped and you've done all the work kind of ahead of time to deliver it. But maybe it's just your delivery method didn't fit the need of that person at that point in time, right? So we've all sat through 60-minute PowerPoint slide presentations, right? And that
Too many.
unfortunately, too many. That unfortunately remains very much the standard, right? Within
Yeah.
within insights or data analytics and reporting, right? It's things that don't look like that are the exception, right? Um, so I think in those situations, that's the so that's the context of what's happening within the business and the person that you're trying to land this message with, and then maybe like you say, you've prepped a great set of slides, the methodology is sound, the data is accurate, etc., etc. But what you've done is you've shared information for an hour, right? And you've shared information, right? And you might have again, you might have done a great job of sharing the information, but you've not set up in a way for them to do something about it, or again, walk out of that room with a clear, okay, the next thing I need to do is this, or I need to change this plan in this way, or the follow up with my team needs to look like this.
How do I
If you
bridge
haven't
it?
landed that, right, then that person, will walk out of that room, go into the next meeting, and maybe a couple of days later, might remember one of your slides or a really nice PowerPoint chart that you made, but that's it's not enough, right? Like that's
Yeah.
it's not enough for it to go any further within the business, and change the way someone does something.
How do you bridge that gap, Kieran? Because I think there's like almost like a language issue between maybe the person presenting and like the business department heads in the room. But I also think in this day and age too, we're just overwhelmed with information, especially with AI and everything else coming in. So it's almost like our brains just kind of shut down when it's more numbers being thrown at us.
I think you change that by you have to change your objective. So like
Yeah.
your objective is not to deliver the report. That's like that can't be like if that's your sole aim, then you'll always achieve the aim of delivering the report, right? But if you know, but that's just like has to be the start of it. So I think you have to change what your goal is going into those sessions or for those projects, right? So like maybe so some inside projects you might run for a couple of weeks, some you might run for a couple of months, right? But
Hmm.
it's really all building up to that end point, right? But if in your mind that's the end point is the delivery, then you're always going to fall short because you need to design whatever the deliverable is or the output or the session with the outcome in mind that you want. And often that is someone taking a decision, changing a behavior, doing something differently, thinking about a problem in a new way, or redefining what their world or their part of the business looks like based on the inputs that you're giving them. So from my point of view, it's all about like what are you what are you trying to deliver, because it can't just be the report, it has to be the thing that comes after a report. So that looks very different and again, different businesses I've worked in, it looks very different. Like it can be the facilitation of those sessions, it can be using the quite often I use the report as the pre-read. Like I don't want the session to be about the report, I want the report to be the pre-read and the input to the discussion,
Yeah.
right? It's about, and again, it's about setting up those sessions in different ways based on the stakeholders that you have, right? So like
Yeah.
currently, like a lot of the work that I do is with designers or with engineers, right? And for them, like framing things as a problem statement is a really good way in. So you might take the insights that you've got and then translate them into a problem statement of, like a what if statement. So what if we could deliver this thing in this way? What does that look like? And then that's informed by the insight because that's the thing you need to deliver. You translated it into their language, and then that's your way into then talking about, okay, well, here's the ideas and here's what we prioritize and here's what we do next. All those
And I
sorts of
think,
things.
and it's also too, you're bringing people into a conversation, like you said, like not just a presentation, right? As well. So you're also pulling out from them because I watched you do that, right? Firsthand at Rocky Mountaineer with like the CX customer experience committee and the voice of the customer work. And really trying to bring together all the leaders in the organization to understand why it was important before you even kind of threw data points. And I think, one of the big aha moments for me was the voice of the customer program, where you got us in and you got us all sitting on calls with like our sales team, like listening to like the challenges they faced on the calls with frontline customers and like just actually bringing us into the work. And that just changed the conversation in the organization in a way that no beautiful, and you do beautiful reports, had ever done, right? Like it was making it really real.
Yes, for sure. Like thinking creative. Like, and this is one of the bits that I really enjoy from my work is like thinking creatively about how do you deliver those moments, right? And so the project that you mentioned that we kind of won an award for, like
Yeah.
big project, took a couple of months to deliver, a pretty significant investment for the business. The one bit about the delivery that we did that everybody still talks about and that was really memorable is that we ran a online Zoom call with 8 people that fitted the profile of our target consumer. So
Okay.
like in terms of the project budget, it was probably no more than 1% or 2% of the whole budget. It landed with the biggest impact because it was like a sequence of events, right? We delivered the information, right? We delivered it in a number of different ways. We did action planning with the teams, and then the last thing that we did was, okay, now join this call, open to anyone in the business. We're going to talk to 8 people who we've profiled as our target consumer, and just listen to them, listen to their stories, hear them validate all the things that we've told you, but they're going to be telling they're going to be telling it to you, right? And
Mhm.
we've not prompted them, we've not set them up in any sort of way. We've just having a conversation about the things that matter to them, and you're going to see that it really reflects all the work that we've been doing over the past couple of months. So yeah, like loads of creative ways that you can bring the consumer, bring the business closer to the consumer, right? And whether that's target consumer, existing customers, whatever that looks like. If you really want to get people talking, you bring in competitor, right?
Yeah.
Competitor customers, right? And what they think of the product or service they're using. Yeah, all sorts of creative ways that you can um, deliver these types of things.
And how quickly did that change, like the decision making around what needed to happen once they sat in the room listening to like their actual target audience?
Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Although again, like by design, right? Like so, we timed all of the delivery for this to be to coincide with our annual planning cycle, right? Like that, from my point of view, that's another thing. Like that you can easily get wrong. It's like this is a priority, and we're going to do it now. But if you're 2 months after all the decisions have been
Mm,
made about next year's budget, or you're 6 months early, right? Before those decisions are even made, or before people are even thinking about planning or priorities for next year, like you could deliver the best piece of insights you've ever done, but it's going to land outside of the
the
window for
window.
decision making or prioritize. Again, depends on what it is, right? If it's more tactical, like I kind of see projects in kind of two main buckets. You've got like tactical stuff that is going to inform what you're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
And then there's longer term kind of more strategic
Planning.
projects that kind of informs your planning and your thinking, right? So yes, on the example that you're talking about, the decision was, it came, it was action fairly quickly, but also by design, in that we tied it in with, like we tied the delivery of it into our global planning for that year. So it
Yeah.
became part of the delivery
When
of that.
everyone's thinking
Yeah,
about it too, right? And wanting to have the conversation.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so, and I'm interested as well, Ciaran, because you've worked agency side and brand side.
Mhm.
And what do you kind of understand or think? Like, how do you make data land inside an organization that you couldn't have learned just from being in that like agency seat? Like, is there a difference having worked both sides?
Yeah, pretty big difference. And I think having worked agency side makes me a better client side researcher, like by by a lot.
Country
Again,
mile,
if
yeah.
there's anyone who's listening who wants career advice, I'd be like, start wherever you're going to start on the agency side, and then if you want to move, because that starting there gives you such a great kind of sets you up really well to then be a client side researcher. I say like big differences are like on the agency side, you may tend to specialize in a certain kind of methodology or approach, or
What's going to happen?
a way of doing something, right? Whereas on the client side, again, it's going to vary a lot by size of clients, but typically the places that I've worked at, you're expected to know everything, right? You're
Yeah.
expected to be a very good generalist, right? Because somebody will come to you with a problem, and you're expected to know what the potential solution is, how long it might take, how much it's going to cost, and two or three agencies that you might use that you could send a brief out to next week, right? So like you need to be across kind of all of that.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess in terms of like the specifics on the delivery, I think like there's a lot of talk about agencies and clients working better together, right?
Yeah.
Because really, like from my point of view, like the agencies that I work with, their ability to deliver good work is my responsibility. It's not their responsibility. Is how I see it. So like if I don't give them the context, if I don't tell them what the stakeholders are looking for, if I don't tell them who the key people are, if I don't tell them how decisions are made, or what templates would work well, who's going to be in the room, who's going to agree with this stuff, who's going to challenge it, like if I don't give them all of that stuff, then how could I expect them to like do a great job of.
Well, the storytelling is part of the brief, right?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
starts at the very
yeah.
beginning. Yeah.
So I think on the agency side, like you can do, again, you can do great work, and then the end bit, the delivery bit, is it can be very dependent on the relationship you've got with that client,
And
how much they're willing to let you in, and also how much that business is willing to let you in and be part of it versus someone who is a project that's being delivered and kind of almost thrown over the fence to then onto the next person, right? And it looks very different across different businesses, different agencies, different types of projects. But to me, that's kind of the how you can get that's the difference when you get things working really well.
yeah, exactly. And I think when you're in-house as well, it's having that broader like business understanding, and you're then also the bridge if you are also working with those agencies.
Yes.
You know, and for you, because you obviously lead data and insights teams now as well. Like for you, what do you see as one of the main differences between a team that kind of reports versus one that influences, and what maybe needs to change structurally or culturally for that kind of transition to happen? Because I know you and I have even lived and breathed that transition.
Yeah. I'm gonna make the bold assumption that we're like, let's park aside any kind of technical challenges, tools, or setup or whatever. Like
100%, 100% people.
we've got everything that we need. Honestly, from my point of view, and the most common thing that comes up with working with, like, I suppose, yeah, like analysts, from my point of view, is tolerance of uncertainty. It is the biggest thing that I would say. So, if you are looking to like, if you're looking to deliver something that is totally sound and is 100% certain, like you're gonna go down the road of a very narrow set of problems and questions that you can deliver to the business. And actually, when you start to have much more impact is when you get into the bigger strategic questions, which are not very well defined. They're ambiguous, they're uncertain, they carry levels of risk with them, right? But if you go down the route of, well, we can only deliver this if we're really certain about it, you'd never deliver anything. So to me,
Right.
like a lot of the coaching that I've done with, I guess, yeah, with analysts or people who with a bit less experience is like, what's like, how do you increase your tolerance for uncertainty whilst remaining whilst still being having confidence in the work that you're delivering and being able to talk to the business about what it means and what the implications are. To me, is like one of the big things. If we get we could get stuck in like, but we don't know that bit of it. Was like we'll never know that bit of it, but that shouldn't stop us
How do
trying
we?
to answer the question, detailing our assumptions, making everyone aware of that bit, what the
Yeah,
risk it carries, maybe what it would cost to fill in that gap, because often it's, well, we could fill in that gap, but it costs us this, and it's not worth it. So like, if everyone's okay with this assumption, let's run with that.
understanding it.
Um, yeah, yeah, getting people to think a bit differently about that, and then I suppose the other bit is in some like time back. So again, like most businesses will have their strategic goals or like key pillars or what have you, and each one of them will have a KPI that sits underneath it, right? So every piece of work that you're putting out there needs to needs it needs to have a very short, succinct summary about what the impact of that work is to one or more of those KPIs that the
Why it
business really cares
matters.
about, right? So like presenting in isolation again is only part of it. You need to then again, and then this is often the leap around the uncertainty bit, right? If we do this, it will change this KPI by that much, and we get nervous about that because we can't predict that with certainty. But if
Yeah.
we don't, then we're not adding as much value as we could, right? We're not having the impact, and we're not getting into those conversations where we can really influence what's going on.
But I think that's also such a key part of it is the conversation piece, right? I think in organizations I currently work with as well, sometimes those insights teams are brought in at particular moments. It's like, how do you also embed yourself in the organization so you're also in the conversations with the marketing team, the sales team, the whichever team you need to be, like up front when the conversation starts versus like when they've already gone so far and then it's also almost getting tacked on at the end. I think where I've seen it be so valuable is where that team is in from the beginning and helping actually define what the business problem is and what the challenge is and how it can kind of be solved for as well.
Yes, yes, yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I would say a big part of the insights role is translating business problems into a data or an insights approach that could start to answer it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's a big part of it.
Okay, so Ciaran, we are coming up on time, so I'm just going to jump to Coaches Corners questions. So, what do you think is one of the most common mistakes a business makes when it hires its first insights person?
So I think that the mistake they make is thinking that hiring the person is the thing that's going to solve their problem or their challenge or their insights needs. Whereas actually, what it requires is yes, the person. You need the skills, the expertise, the experience, but also you need to set them up with the tools that they need to do the work, right? Deliver the work, answer the questions, right? And inevitably that comes with some investment, right? So you investing in the person is only part of it. They will need of you can still do a lot with a small budget, but they're gonna need some sort of budget for tools, for platforms, to work with some external agencies to get the data they need to answer the question. So
Yeah.
thinking that the personal owner is the answer, and then second, like underestimating what it takes to like rewire how you make decisions. So if you've got to point X, right, and the business has done achieve what it's achieved without insights, and then you bring it in, you fundamentally need to make decisions in a different way if you're really invested in
Yeah.
insights being a part of that.
And you want to get the value out of it. Yeah, no, that piece is huge. Okay, question two. You won an award for storytelling with data, but most kind of insights professionals, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, were trained to present like findings and facts, not tell stories. So, what had to change in how you think for that to kind of really work for you?
From my point of view, it was really shifted in the way I thought about what the delivery was. So now my goal is not to deliver the information. My goal is to change someone's behavior. And so if I
Right.
start to think about it in that way, right? Like the output of this session, outcome of this session needs to be that this person or this team does this thing differently. Then the way I design it, the way I think about it, looks very different to if I go in with the goal of delivering information. So the information becomes an input to that discussion and figuring out how we get there. Um, yeah, that's kind of the biggest bit. And from my point of view, like the way I think about it is I need insights to be talked about when I'm not in the room. And so
Yeah.
you can't be everywhere, you can't be in all these conversations, but you need the insights to travel. So you need it to be memorable, you need it to stick, and you need people to be talking about it when you're not there. And again,
And even if they're like, we need to bring Kieran or whoever that person is back into the room.
yes, yeah. And so if I think about designing, delivering with those two things in mind, it looks very different from earlier in my career where I was designing for, you know, information delivery.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, and then question three, for the founder or maybe like the marketing department head who knows their data matters, but they can't figure out like how to use it to drive actual decisions.
Yeah.
What's the first thing they should change about how they kind of go about it?
So I think it's often tempting to think you don't have enough data. I'd say that's really the problem. So the
Yeah.
thing I wouldn't do is go chasing more
More.
data, right? Because that's not very rarely is that the problem that you've got. Um, Honestly, like the for those types of situations, what I really like is some of the maturity models that you can look at. There's loads of them available on the internet. What have you, like lots of different ones written for different, again, not just for data and insights, but lots of different parts of the business. Because from my point of view, it really helps crystallize what the difference is, right? As you move up this ladder, and it does a really nice job of not telling you the type of work or the projects, right? Because that's you know that, but it sort of tells you like what it looks like and how it feels and how that part of the business works with the rest of the business, right? It gives you like and you can really be like, yeah, we're here or we're here, and to me that's a great starting point to know where you are, because
Yeah.
then you can get a good sense of what does it look like when you're at the next step, and what's it going to take, um,
Get there.
what's it going to take to do that. And I would really, really, in these cases, say you really can't skip a step, right? You have to go slow at the beginning to go faster later on, right? You can have the best tools or whatever. Um, you could have great dashboards that everyone's looking at, but if your house is not in order, if the data's not credible, reliable, people don't agree on the definitions, where it's coming from, all that sort of stuff, then it doesn't really matter, right? Because you
Yeah.
need to get that bit right first. So, yeah, I would, yeah, steer away from more data and then get really clear on, okay, where are we at,
Yeah.
right? And what are some of the things that what in what ways is the next stage or the next level of maturity different to what we do today, and how do we start to work towards some of those?
And I think I mean, it's analysis paralysis, right? We get so much data, we don't move. And the goal is to just start moving and
Yes,
then it will come with clarity.
for sure.
No, this has been awesome, Ciaran. Thank you so much for sharing like all of your wisdom. I know there is just so much more in there that we could dig into, but just coming up on time. So, for those that are listening, whether you're leading a team, building a brand, or sitting on a mountain of data that nobody's using, as you've heard today, the problem is almost always the same. The insights do exist. It's maybe that the narrative and the story doesn't yet, right? So how do you build to that? So if you know someone doing brilliant work that maybe no one's acting on, send them this and we'll make sure we link all of Ciaran's work below. And as always, subscribe to ZZ Exchange for short form conversations that don't package answers, but hopefully give you some better questions to work with. So Ciaran, thanks for joining me from England. This has been great.
Thanks, Ainsley.
Yeah, appreciate it.